How's it guys? How are you? Welcome back to another session with Coach Madness. I have to apologize for long absence. I had to go for another knee surgery, so yeah, I've been out for a while. So since I've gotten back on my feet, some of my students have been asking me on the Jiu-Jitsu front just for some movement drills. So let's just quickly look at some basic ones, right? So the first and foremost one that you kind of need to learn is a form, right? So the most basic form, easiest way to start is basically start on your knees. And if I want to roll over my right shoulder, I'm going to tip my head to the left and down, right? And if I want to roll over my head because of my neck. So depending on which direction I'm going, I need to tilt my head to that opposite side. So if I want to roll over my right shoulder, tip my head to the side and to the front. The way I explain to the students is reach down and try and touch your butt, right? But you don't have to, you can just kind of tuck your arm in for the front roll. I want to place my shoulder on the floor. Then what I want to do is I want to from this shoulder to the opposite side's butt cheek. So I'm going from right to left. Otherwise what's going to happen is I'm going to fall over to the side and that's not going to be a front roll. I need to roll straight forward. I also need to engage my legs at the end. So I'm going to kind of give off a little bit of a push. So I drop my arm in and then push over with my legs over to the butt cheek, right? So if I do it from this angle, drop my arm in. From here, I push with my foot. So obviously, I'm rolling over my right, so I'm using more of my left foot to push, and I roll through. Okay. This angle, reach in, down. See how I'm tilting my head to the side and down. That's important. Never ever want to roll here. That's going to be bad. Okay, never want to place my forehead up. Bad for the neck. So drop in. Push through, right? So that's the one. The second one is a back roll. Back roll is exactly the same as the front roll, only difference is I'm going backwards, and now I'm going to try and place my knees next to my ear. So the same thing's going to happen. Over my right side, head to the left, knees come up. And I'm driving the action with my hips and my abs. I can't just use my legs, because you see that they come up. So I need to use my hips. Go up with my hips. Take my knees next to the ear. Cool. And that's a back roll. Right? So if I sit this way, head, activate the hips, come up. Those are the first two main ones that you kind of need to learn. The third one is called shrimp. Now, shrimping is used in more than one place. I know everybody thinks it's only in mounting skate, but that same movement is used in similar in side control, regarding, whatever the case may be. So it is an important movement, and the most basic part of it is, let's go this way, right? If I'm flat on my back, you never want to be a dead zombie, right? I can't be flat to my legs. I just want to get my knees bent so that I can start activating my hips whenever I need to. So now, if I'm going to shrink towards my left, I'm going to drop my left leg flat, right? Drop the left leg flat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll all the way over to my shoulder. I'm going to bring my hips to clear my head line, right? So this line here where my head is, I'm going to clear that with my hips. At the same time, I'm going to get my hands up and push down, right? But I can't push from here and then try and bring my hips up. I need to go all the way out to my side, onto my side, push with this leg that's nice and up, my right leg, I push and I bring my hips all the way back, right? So, just so you can see the hip movement more, from there, all the way out to my side. Now I'm going to use this leg to push. I'm going to bring my head, my hips up towards here. Boom. Okay. And that's a shrimping movement. It's a very important drill as well. Once again, like I said, that movement gets used in quite a few places. Now the next thing I like doing is, it's kind of more of a leg pummeling exercise, but I call it needle and thread. So start off position, one leg over. I always try for this drill, keep my shoulders as flat on the ground as I possibly can. And there's reasons for it, especially when I'm doing mount escapes, certain mount escapes in my own way, my own style. I try and do that. Most guys are always going to teach you come up onto your side, right? When you step over, come up onto the shoulder and then bring the knee through, which is perfectly fine, depending on the style of Jiu-Jitsu that you're playing and what you're playing. My style is quite different. I've spent quite a bit of time, last 4 years since COVID, spent time looking at the movement of Jiu-Jitsu and the way that I roll and why things are working. So my Jiu-Jitsu is slightly different, but that's Jiu-Jitsu, right? There is set fundamentals, but each guy is going to build his own recipe out of all the different techniques and fundamentals. So for me personally, I prefer having both my shoulders flat. Most guys, I'm show you, just come up onto the shoulder and bring the leg up through. I prefer keeping both my shoulders flat. So step over with this leg. What I'm going to do is, once again, the movement's going to be controlled out of my hips. So I'm going to slide my knee through, up, and step over. I'm not driving to my shoulders. I want to activate the hips when I step over. So you'll notice I try and keep my shoulders as flat as possible. And there is a good reason for it, which we'll get into at a later stage. So I'll turn here, over and through, over and through. I call this drill needle and thread. Now, if you're going up onto your side here, stepping through, coming around, that's also fine. But you'll see my movement's less controlled. My movement's less controlled and it's a bit big. And I prefer smaller movements. It just gives me a bit more of an advantage. So that's the needle and thread. Then, what I like doing is, basically, the next one is a hip up, right? Once again, mainly used in mount, or when I'm doing a hip bump sweep. Coming up for that hip bump sweep, I need to activate the hips. There. So most guys go to the gym and they think this is a ladies' exercise, it's so girly. Yeah, it works the butt muscles, it works the hips. This, glute bridges, is a very good exercise, right? For Jiu-Jitsu, obviously, you do 10 slow ones, boom, and then you go 10 fast short ones. See how I lift my feet? As I slam them on the floor, that force helps me to push my hips a little bit faster and a little bit higher. There. Okay. So if you do need to use the bump, there it is. Then, following off of this, we call, what do we call that? I can't actually remember. I think it's called a bridge roll, something like that. I'm not too great with the terminology in Jiu-Jitsu. I'm good at Jiu-Jitsu, but not terminology. So, hip bump, up, and then I roll over to the shoulder and I reach as far as I can. I reach up. Boom. And I reach up. Boom. Reach up. Boom. Okay. So that, as far as I can remember, is called a bridge roll. Okay? Now, building up from that to get back into reverse needle and thread basically is I would step over, lift up onto my shoulder, bring the leg around, step down, right? Step through. Now, that's the one. Now when we get into reverse needle and thread, I would literally go up, step my leg through, come back, step my leg through, and come back. Right? So you need to first, before you can do that, reverse needle and thread. The first few that I mentioned, once you've got a good handle on that, then you can start doing this, especially the bridge roll. If you can't get the bridge roll properly, you're not going to be able to do the reverse needle and thread. And it's all about controlling the movement with the hips every single time. As I come up, I control it with my hips. Right? And it's it's very seldom that you would come up and then turn in. A lot of times you'll just reverse needle and thread from here. And I'm still using my hips. So that I can come back up onto my knees. That is so much easier movement than trying to step over. If I've got an opponent here in my guard, and let's say I am in zero guard, for instance, here. If I try and bring this leg over, to step over him, he's going to catch this leg. So a lot of times, if his body is here, my foot's here, I'm just going to drop my leg in and pop back up onto my knees. Just a reverse needle and thread. So for every forward movement, there is usually a backwards movement or a side movement to do. Excuse me. And you can just play around with those a little bit. So those are the first few. Then, after the needle and thread, the next movement you got is, it's basically a triangle draw. And I think I have posted it before, but I'm going to make one long little video quick. So, you come up. So some clubs call it a Buddha sit, some clubs call it a butterfly sit. Don't really have much of a name for it. Gymnastic guys do it also quite a bit. And it's all just about controlling the hips. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to push my hips straight up here. From here, push the hips straight up. I am not doing this. Okay? That's bad. I don't want to do that, especially if I'm drilling triangles. Because if I'm coming here with a triangle, that's where the guy starts escaping. I need to go straight up or fetch it. Right? So there's the draw. If you're a beginner, novice, and your core isn't where it needs to be, you are allowed to use your hands or your elbows as support, right? Elbows or even your hands as support. But just remember that in the live roll, you don't have your hands on the floor if you're doing a triangle. This draw is also great for armbar setups. So you don't have your hands on the floor. Yes, you have your opponent, and that kind of gives you a little bit of leverage. So you kind of got to get into the habit of rather having your hands here close to your chest and sitting up. Rotate. Rotate. Right? That's an important one. Then when you start getting a little bit more involved into a bit more advanced kind of movements, and it's all mainly about control. So let's first, before we even get to that one, let's just look at the wrestler sit through and back step. When I do the wrestler sit through, a lot of people think I need to take my foot and put my foot through. I'm trying to drag my foot through. And that's bad. Once again, here, movement comes off of the hips. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, whether I'm punching, playing cricket, playing soccer, football, running. This is where most of everything happens, especially in golf swing. If you look at golfers, great golfers, they don't swing out of the upper body. The movement is driven out of the hips, right? So, when I do a wrestler sit through, the idea is not to put my foot where my hand is, it's to put my butt cheek where my hand is. So when I'm in this position, I'm going to lift my leg. As I lift my leg to my chest, all I'm going to do is pop up. See how my hips are turning there? Pop through, and I just sit through. My leg is through. When I'm doing this, I don't want to go with my head. I kind of always want to be like a puppy looking for love. Getting my head up, looking up to the sky. Right? So I sit through. So from there, I sit through. Sit through. Okay. Just when you turn, so you guys see from this angle, from here, the leg is up, my hips are turning. I'm not going to go in here, I'm going towards my hand. Okay, that's the wrestler sit through. Back step is exactly the same thing. From here, lift my leg up, and I turn on my hips. And I sit through. Right, so I switch around. Here, leg up, and I back step there. Let me just think. We did back step, wrestler sit through, butterfly sits, butterfly sit with a twist, hip bump, bridge ball, needle and thread, reverse needle and thread. What else is there? What am I missing? Butt scoots, yeah, butt scoots. Right, so for my kids, I always call it itchy butt, like a dog scratching its butt on the ground because of worms. So, not allowed to use my hands. Put my feet forward and slide forward. My feet forward, slide forward, right? If I want to go backwards, same thing. Bring my feet closer, push back. Okay, on the push back, you can kind of lift your butt. When you're going forward, don't try and lift your butt because you don't have your legs on it, right? So you can't lift yourself. So you kind of slide forward. So there, slide forward. This is great for butterfly, attacking forward. There is a front shrimp, right? It's a bit more advanced. We'll get into that when we start playing a lot more butterfly. Yeah, that's the other one. Thank you, Coach Justin. Sorry guys, Coach Justin is off camera. Just making sure camera keeps recording, right? So, with the butterfly sit-ups, there are some movements that you can use to what's the wording? To isolate your hip movements, right? So, I call it mini butt wiggles and then a pendulum butt wiggle, right? So, mini butt wiggles here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my hips up slightly and I'm going to turn. And you'll notice when I get around to the back, so you can see my head, I'm not rolling onto my shoulders. My back's flat on the floor. See there? Alright? Boom. That's also very good and it's a very important movement to do, especially if the guy starts rolling around, trying to get past your legs from a standing position. The next one is a butt pendulum. The movement, the draw, is actually an omoplata draw. So what I want to do is I'm going to imagine that I've got the guy on my guard, I'm going to sit back, and the leg that's on the outside is the leg that kicks like a pendulum, because that's the leg that's trapping the arm. So I'm going to sit back, kick up, and turn 180. Back, kick up, and turn 180. For this, you can use your arms to support you. Right? So let me show you from here. Go back. As I come up here, see how I'm twisting my hips, isolating that hip movement, and this leg is going to chop down like an axe, like a pendulum. Right? And I turn through. One more time on this leg. Okay, that one is also quite important. It helps, obviously, setting up submissions and setting up a back tap, that kind of thing. What else am I forgetting, Coach Jay?
What is it? Hip thrust.
Yeah, it was hip thrusts.
Bridges.
Yeah, we did bridges and then bridge side rolls. So let's quickly look at the more advanced one, right? So, I go, and there's a few of them, right? So I can do a back roll, into bridge, into the tummy. You'll notice I'm on one shoulder, and then I bring myself back. Whoop. Come back. Right? There's that one. Then I can go bridge roll, reverse knee length thread, keep my balance. See, I try not to use my hand here. Onto my next shoulder, step, reverse, back. Right? So bridge roll, reverse knee length thread, try and keep the balance. Roll through, I step. Once I'm on my other shoulder, then I go back to reverse knee length thread and step through. I know I'm missing. There's a side roll. You can do the side roll. So side roll is for when you're playing an inverted game. A lot of guys prefer put the arm in the back, but in all honesty, when you're playing inverted, your arms aren't behind your back. They're still here, still facing you. So it's better if you start learning to do it that way. If you're going to be more comfortable, sit on the hand, have the hand here, have the hand there. Doesn't matter. The end goal is to be here. So what I want to do is I'm going to roll over my shoulders, not my neck. So I'm going to tilt my head forward. I'm dropping to the side here. Now when I get here, I'm not bringing my butt back. That's just it, right? So my opponent's here in front. I'm playing inverted. Drop, you can drop the arm in. I prefer not to. Keep my arms up and drop down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my feet in front of me, in my head, my eyes looking at my feet. Come up and roll through. There, right? So one more time. There, boop, and roll through. As simple as that. Okay, there's that one. And I know I'm missing one. I can't remember.
Technical get up?
Yeah, technical get up is basically from here. I'm sitting here, I'm going to seek up around the neck. And what I want to do is this leg that's I'm bring as close to my butt as I can. Keep my other leg flat. I'm going to slide out. 1. Step again, place my hand. Now on the second step, I'm going to bring this foot to my butt. 2, and then on 3, I step back. Come out, right? Here, up. 1, 2, and 3, right? Just to break away. Not really going to do the break form now. It's senseless until we get into takedowns. Just trying to think. I know there's an important one that I'm missing. I can't remember now. See, that's what happens when you become a brown belt, right?
Yeah.
You stop drilling. Yeah, I think that's basically the main ones. Yeah, it's needle and thread. Needle and thread, right? Don't confuse the one on the floor with the one standing, okay? Because they're exactly the same thing, right? So, Coach Jay, can I just borrow you for a minute? So, on the needle and thread, I'm sitting here. If he starts moving this side, see how I'm stepping across, and I go there again. Now I can reset back, okay? So a lot of times guys sit on the wall and they tell you go needle and thread and you stop and you turn and you turn, right? And now I'm going a lot on my shoulders because I'm attacking the guy here. But the difference in the movement there from here, right? Exactly the same thing here. So you're getting the same draw, right? I think those are basically the main ones that you guys should really know to get the movements going. Back step, wrestler sit through is the most important because all of those movements kind of, you adapt them for certain positions, and we'll start looking into those more once we get to the actual moves in itself, right? Certain defenses, certain passes, that kind of thing. Yes, there is what we call windscreen wiper, or what do they call this? Sit-up. Can't remember what the sit-up's name is. I know there's a name to it. Guys, sorry, I know I'm bad with names, right? You literally go, you sit up, switch your legs, sit up, right? We do something similar with my guys, where we go windscreen wiper, sit down, come up, windscreen wipe, down, back into guard position. Go back, windscreen wiper, sit up, windscreen wipe, back down, and sit again. This kind of movement is especially used in back take, right? From weak side control, weak side control here. Very easy for me to drop down and take the back, right? Any kind of movement like that. S-mount, it's the same position. So you kind of got to get used to that S-mount position. Okay, so you can do that. That's an important one as well. I'm not really going to look at the takedown drills now. That's silly. We'll do that when we do actual takedowns. I think that's about it for now. So just chew on those, guys. Once you're done chewing on that, as we go along with more of the Jiu-Jitsu stuff, we'll get stuck into that. Hope you guys had fun. Yeah, just give us a like, subscribe, maybe a share. Would be awesome. Sweet.